This is the Course of Action podcast, available on Apple, Spotify, Good Pods, and your favorite platform worldwide. You can also stream new episodes on the Reeves Across America radio network every Monday at noon Eastern. Reeves Across America's mission is to remember the fallen, honor those who serve, and teach future generations the value of freedom. All right, guys, here we are live. Beaver's Bend here at Total Archery Challenge. I got Dan Horgan here is with us today. Steve Stratton's going to be my co-host here. First time co-hosting?
Absolutely. Yeah. Awesome.
Well, Dan's with the Warrior Bonfire Program. He's also an Air Force veteran, done some really awesome stuff over the course of your career, so you can take that away. Tell us a little bit about that and who you are.
Yeah, Steve, first, thanks for having me. Yeah, so I joined the active duty Air Force in 1991. So I'm looking at you, not that I'm saying we're old, because I'm feeling you. I joined the active duty Air Force in 91. Started off being security police, but then the Honor Guard came down and recruited out of it, and I was from Baltimore, and I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, the stationed in D.C., an hour from home, yes. So I volunteered, got selected. So my first 2 years, actually, I spent doing Arlington, right?
Oh.
So for the Air Force, yeah. So doing all the funerals at Arlington, right? I did State Department and all that kind of stuff. Couple joint wreath laying, ceremonies at the tomb. Yeah, and that was 2 years. And then the Air Force said, man, you did such a good job, right? You have a TS clearance, right? E4. You get your pick. And I'm like, yes. Minot, or it was Wyoming or Maelstrom, right?
Oh, wow.
I didn't know any better then, so I was just thinking again, Minot's closer to the East Coast than Wyoming is, so I went to Minot. Right. So I wound up being a missile cop for about another 2 years up in Minot. Cross-trained and then got into AWACS. So then I started flying. I was a surveillance technician on AWACS. So I was a backseater looking at the radar and IFF dots. Did that for about another 4 years, and then got divorced, but then met my wife now after the divorce, Bethany, and I was like, okay, trying to figure out my career, right? I mean, I'm like into it like nine and a half years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I was going to go then be a drill instructor. So they came up to do a tour. Went through the whole process. I mean, I took like the 900 question psych test.
Wow.
Right, the photos and everything. It was great, got accepted, but then they were like, your functional manager has to release you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they said you're chronic critical for your position.
For a long time, the cops were critically manned.
This is
all
AWACS.
the time.
This was AWACS for flying.
Right,
No, air crew, But same thing.
Yeah.
But you're like, you're just rolling your eyes because they said, no, we can't release you.
Wow.
So I was like, well, I'll show you. I'll get out on the ATS. Yeah, I just stayed in the reserves. Right, and then 9/11 happened, but I went back to reserves, and I went back to reserves as a cop. 9/11 happened, so back on active duty. And then that's kind of where now even my civilian career, so then I became a cop. So here I am in the reserves as a cop, and I'm working with real cops. We say that. I don't mean to be disparaging to
right
Air Force, security force guys. So I got picked up by Baltimore. And so now, I was a Baltimore cop from 2003 to 2010. But while I was even doing that, right, I got the bugs because I was running and gunning. We was doing some good stuff in Baltimore. And then that's where when I finished out my career, then I became a TAC P. So I became a TAC P up at the 148th ASOS. It's the Fort Indian Town Gap. Yeah, Pennsylvania. Okay. Yeah, great. I was like number 6 hired into the unit.
Wow.
Yeah, so you talk about startup. Yeah, talk about startup. Yeah, I was number 6 in the unit, and so no one was a TAC P, right? And so we all went, but we all crushed it. Like the first wave of everybody. Yeah, we went through. So I did that, and then we moved back to Oklahoma, and I was with the ASOS out there, and then I got my JTAC status, and then I deployed in 2011. To southern Afghanistan, a little bit west of Kandahar. Did that. That was phenomenal. And came back and just the guard. I was an AGR, so my spot was full-time.
Yeah.
But I was capped at E6, and I was like, man, I don't know if I'll be an E6 for the rest of my life, right? Because I've been for a while. And so I ended up pulling out of the ASOS, stop being, air quotes, a TAC P, and so I actually was I went up and did some like human resource. I was like the P monitor. Which was hysterical.
The P sergeant.
Yeah, but that was it, and that was just I knew that was a stepping stone, and so there ended up being a slot open for the group first sergeant, and so I was rolling my dice, and I put in a really good package, interviewed, and I ended up getting it. So I was the group first sergeant, but then they were trying to find me a first sergeant school slot. And I was like, at that point, I was at 24 years.
Oh.
But I was still, but I was still doing what the TAC-P do. Like, my sleeves were cuffed in, right? My pants bloused down as low as they could go, right? I couldn't wear my beret anymore, so I had to wear a hat, and so I'd be ranger rolling my hat. And as a first sergeant, you're like, all right, you can't, these are not.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So I was like, all right, just stop looking, right? I was like, just stop looking for a school date. Just stop looking for a school date for me.
They really couldn't get you in?
They could, but I just didn't want to. I was more of a hindrance to myself. Like, I just really, I was like, it's time to retire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I retired.
Sometimes,
And that's exactly, I mean, I miss it to this death when we talk about even transition in the military. Like, I really do miss it. I mean, it was great. But there was just that level of being a first sergeant and those rules. I'm not that much a stickler on them, and I just didn't want to be, right?
You don't want to be the stickler.
Yeah. So I retired. So I retired in June of 2016, and then became like then a military spouse, right? So my wife is Bethany's in. She's guard, but she's full-time guard, and she was in, man, and she then was like, hey, I have an opportunity to take like a full-time stat tour kind of thing down in San Antonio. So we actually got PCS'd. From Oklahoma down to San Antonio.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's where we've been for the last 5 years.
Yeah, and you went to work for Black Rifle at one point in time?
You do? You have the hat on? I did. That's when I say it's my claim to fame, I tell you that. I mean, well, so we're here, at Oklahoma for Total Archery Challenge. This was something like, so I signed the contract. I mean, Evan, gave like, hey, yes, we're going to do, they were the title sponsors back in the day. And well, we were actually the sub. So Yeti used to have the title sponsorship. Yep. And then one of the years we took the subtitle. And then Yeti, not that they pulled out, but they were like, okay, we're done with it. Because it's pricey, right? I won't drop the price.
Sure. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's pricey. And it's a 3-year, it's supposed to be a 3-year long each. So, yeah. But once Yeti was going to relinquish it, Evan was like, hey, so 2 people in this world call me Danny. Evan and my mother. Evan's like, looks at me, he's like, Danny, that's us. Like, do it. So Sean DeGray, right, is the owner for TAC, and we signed that. And so anyway, so like all these people I know are from my Black Rifle days. Yeah, but that's what I did. So I worked directly for Evan. You guys a Game of Thrones fan? Mm-hmm. So I was the hand. Is the joke?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the joke.
little taller.
Yeah, but that's the joke. That was kind of the role. Kind of doing everything right that he needed and being his stead, or in his place and. Phenomenal. But then he moved from San Antonio back to Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
You can't really do that role like that. And so he moved me over to marketing. And so I did marketing operations, and that's where it ran into all the events. I mean, I did like events and sponsorships and partnerships, and then Black Rifle created a nonprofit. Tier and Evan, some other guys, they were the ones running it, but I was there with that, so we were doing all of that. Right. But like, if you asked Black Rifle before that was created, if you called Black Rifle and be like, hey, can I get money for my golf tournament or something like that? That was me.
Wow, you were answering phone.
Yeah, it was me. Emails, right? And so we did that. Plus, I ran LinkedIn, right? So that's always I always got a plug because that's my thing. And I started that as in. When I came on board, Evan's like, here, you run this, because he knew that was something that I was passionate about then. Yeah. And so when I took it over, we had 10,000 followers, which is still a lot, even for like LinkedIn. But when I left, we were at 280,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was years ago.
Yeah, and that was 2 years, and now they're over, I think, 350,000. So momentum's doing great. I don't think they hit it, personally, right? Everybody listening, I don't think they hit it as much as hard as I used to do it. But I know Luke was running their marketing and stuff, and I know he does Clandestine Media Group.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
I know, Luke's really big into LinkedIn thing, but he ended up leaving Black Rifle as well, but he still has Clandestine, and so was doing that, and so, but that was, I didn't have to work through the social media team, like they were like. Well, they have like 1.9 million like on Facebook, right?
Yeah,
so
those ridiculous numbers.
10,000, 20, 50, but it started climbing, and so I always had Yeti and Bass Pro in my sights, and they were at like 100,000. And once we blew past them, I was like, all right, like this rocket ship, like we got it, But I didn't go through them. I would use some of their posts, but it was by post. But I would respond like it was me doing it, like. The social media team didn't touch the LinkedIn and all back then.
That's cool.
It is, and I loved it. That's why I love LinkedIn as a platform. I know people will cringe and roll their eyes, but they mess with Instagram and Facebook, and I'm like, are those platforms any better? Come on now, let's, right? So I did that, and then we moved over to branding, and I got to go to New York City when Black Rifle went public.
Nice.
Yeah, Evan, I was on the team that got to go, so I was on the stock exchange floor when we went public.
That's cool.
Super cool. I didn't think it was going to be. I'm not a finance guy.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, all right.
This is what it is.
Well, I was thinking, what's it? Trading Places. You're trading Places. Yeah, with Eddie Murphy.
Is it?
Right back in the day, Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a scene where they're on the stock exchange floor. That always popped into my head. But I got to go up. So I had the big fake fat checks, right?
Yeah.
So we donated to nonprofits that day.
Yeah.
So I had that. And so whoever was the director for the stock exchange was like, hey, I'll take you up so you can take these up. And so I got to go on the floor even before like the traders were there and everything.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay, this is cool. Like, I was like, all right, I'll concede. Like, this is pretty cool being on the exchange floor. But then I left in July of 22, right after the Pennsylvania Total Archery Challenge back in 22. Just kind of wanted to spread my wings. I mean, what I learned from Evan, Matt, and the whole team was crazy, right? It was,
They've handled it so well the way it's grown.
It is, yeah, fire hose. But it just, being a public is a different company, right? Again, everyone listening, again, nothing bad, but it's a different company from, you can see that. I mean,
sure.
It's a different, right? But that's what you have to do when you grow and you get like those kind of big numbers.
Yeah.
And so that's these last 2 years kind of, again, when we talk about just transition and military stuff, I think I don't know if I had a rough year or 2 years, but like I bounced around, but if I left the company, I left the company. Like I could tell after 90 days, I'm like,
this wasn't it.
This wasn't it. Maybe nothing against you. Like if this is me, like I just know I don't want to be here. And so I bounced around. Great roles, but still doing marketing and branding. I made my own LLC and did that for like a little. I still have it. I had to do taxes, and I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Right.
Well, it was
Is
just
anybody
me.
on taxes anymore?
Right? But it was just me. And it's just me, right? And, and it's like I don't like how it like in Texas you have a franchise tax and stuff, and I'm like, franchise tax? So it's called Free Range Texas. I was like, it's just Dan Horgan. Dan Horgan's not franchising anything.
Yeah.
Like what are you talking about? But I was doing social media kind of management and some, just a little bit marketing consulting, but for the nonprofit world. And so that's where I, just even to round it out, I know I've been rambling, but to round it out, like that's where I'm at now. And because I feel like, I'm air quotes, like back home, right? Like back into the veteran community. I don't have a Purple Heart, right? So we support Purple Heart recipients and their spouses. Now I have I was almost blown up. Well, I was blown up, but like nothing like happened to me, which is a miracle, right?
Yeah,
so
it is.
it's okay. So I nothing happened to me, which is great. But which is the guys and gals with Purple Hearts, right? Something happened to them, but I can relate. Like I was just there, so I can relate. And so being able to be in that part of it, is just great. And then it's the outdoors too, right? So
yes,
as I talk about it, it becomes a lot of the outdoor just retreats and therapy that we end up doing. So for me, that's 1 + 1 it's equal to 2. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the way military transition is, because it's a very tough thing, no matter what era you came from. Didn't mean to look at you. Say that, Steve.
Well, so we're saying that. Like, are you? When I say 91, are you even before 91?
73.
Oh shit! There you go. Okay.
And no matter what era you're from, they have their own challenges.
Yeah.
Even post 9/11, post OIF, OEF. For you and what you've seen working with folks, what's the biggest challenge in transition that people have to overcome?
Yeah, it's something. What I feel, and it's because it's me, but I think I see it too. It's the bond, and we say camaraderie. Not that that's a cliche, but it's finding that niche of like when you're in a unit, like you can't leave, right? Like you can't just quit.
You're all in it together.
Right? You're all in it.
If it sucks,
but you end up making it work.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Again, so I worked for 5 different companies in the last 2 years. One I stayed at for 67 days. And I was like, nope, I'm out, bye.
Yeah.
You can't do that, right? You can't get to your unit and be like, oh, you guys suck, I'm out.
This place.
Yeah, right? Whatever, right? I mean, so I feel like that becomes it. I mean, because you can talk about, well, how do you translate your skills, and that's initial stuff, right? And, but I feel like that's not that that's rudimentary or easy, but it's just like, hey, I was infantry, or like, how do I relate those to do something? And I think you can, because we have soft skills. That's great, and you start adding those up. But I don't see that as too much of a challenge, because there really are, I think, experts to do that, right? But it's once you're there. Right, you land the job, or even if you don't land the job. But I think even if you don't land the job, because I see friends like in LinkedIn who are months into being unemployed, and my longest was 7 weeks, and so I'm a bit egotistical or something. I'm like if I quit, like it'll be 4 to 7 weeks, right? Yeah. I think I've been blessed that it's only been that, because again, I see friends that are months into it. But what is it? But why? And it's because they're looking for the right fit, which is great for them, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to find that right fit. And so I think it's that fit, that bond is what we end up having, I say problems with, because I see the ones that are successful is because they have found it, right? Yeah. Maybe I drop bombs, but now I do finance. But that's what I always wanted to do, and I like it. Well, great, you like it, and now you're fitting that. But it's like, for someone like me, and I think there's a lot of maybe me's out there, it's just like I've done a lot of different things, but just like who do I want to be with, And I say, and I'll tell like an Evan story, and the guys used to always like talk about like, who would you want to go to war with? Like if you had to look, like, and that's a bit extreme, but it is, but like that's stuck with me. And you sit there and you get with some of these employers and people I've been with, and again, I'm not badmouth any of them, but I would look over and I'd be like, nope, I'm not going to war with that dude.
Yeah. We've all had the members of our unit that were like,
right. And so I think really that finding that, like, and not that it's cliche, but it's that tribe. It's just that group, that people you want to be with, and then to make it work. Because I've been at bad units and good units, even in the military, right? But even the bad units still were good, like they functioned, right? Yeah. But the ones that were good were just well, wait, what was it? And you're like, we were all friends, right? Like my Pennsylvania unit, like that, like I'm still friends with the people now, right? You leave in 2010, and you're just it's
you find those guys that you connect with.
Yeah, it's like your high school buddies, right? I mean, I have high school friends that I haven't seen in years, but like if I were, if we text or call, or we do run into each other, it's just like, like we're 18 again. Yeah. Senior of high school.
I missed the day.
Yeah.
What's something that you guys really focus with on the Warrior Bonfire Program when it comes to that transition? Because, like you said, finding that tribe again is a big thing of what people look for. I know I kind of look for it, and I didn't know I was looking for it. And I kind of bounced around for some jobs, and I didn't want to, like, once they medically retired me, I wanted to move away from the government. Yeah. I'm going to go do my own thing. And I quickly found I didn't like that at all. Right. I went to a beer distribution company as a salesman, and there was one other veteran in there amongst, like, I think it was like 50 or 60 people. And we were looking at all of them like, holy cow. Right. Like some of the stuff they were doing. It was like, it's a different level of discipline. Not that it's bad. No, it was their thing, and it worked for them. But for us, we were going, what is going on here? Yeah. Like, and I didn't fit there at all. I tried to, but I found myself going back to working for the Air Force as a civilian just because I almost needed to be around the jet fuel and the sounds and the camouflage again. Yeah, well, I did contract work in Afghanistan right when I was retiring, and literally like before, right, the whole contract thing, and for ISR, right? So I was the site lead for up in Kandahar and Bagram, or down in Kandahar and Bagram, for the King Airs, right, the ISR platform. Yep. And I did that for about a year and a half. But when I talk about military transition, it's cheating. Yeah, like I was cheating. Like I still, because I was still doing, and I was still with the people doing right, which was good, but it's just like it's not. When I say it's not real, it's just like, for me, and I make that joke, it's cheating because you're still just doing that. Yeah. Which again, it's a good thing, but it's just like, but when Afghanistan ended, like now my friends are like, either Africa, South America, or the Philippines and stuff like that, and I'm like, no, I have no
No. And that's where I'm at now, like doing marketing and branding and kind of just, partnerships, being out there in that world. Yeah. Like I love it. And now I'm into that, but that's where that's now it is a true civilian side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Even for a nonprofit and you're talking to companies and you're just trying to like look at people and make the connection.
Yeah. And get them to you got to get people to understand something that is hard for them to understand because it's an experience driven.
Sure. Yeah.
Set of circumstances. Like we understand it because we've been there. We've seen people go through it. When you're talking to a corporate company, I can imagine that's difficult to say. Well, it's important for us to go sit around a bonfire and to shoot, bows, because of this. And they go,
yeah. Well, even, I would say Purple Heart. Like I've found now, like I'll be putting something on social media and I'll say, our Purple Heart warriors and recipients. I guarantee you, there's probably people who are like, what is Purple Heart? Like, is it cancer survivor or something? Like, I'm not making a joke, but like, it is. Like, they don't know what.
Yeah, they don't.
When we just say Purple Heart, like, this is someone who got wounded in combat.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and so now I find myself like, I probably need to explain a little bit. Like, these are combat, like, people, right? Got shot, blown up, right? Not everyone's an amputee, but they got hurt, right, in combat. Yeah, so.
Let's talk about TAC a little bit and
sure,
move into getting veterans outdoors.
Yep.
You shot today.
I did. Beautiful day.
Shot on the Jack Links course.
I did. Yep, the Jack Links course. Right.
How was that?
They took over the title sponsorship this year, and so they'll have it. I think again if Sean runs it the next 3 years. No, Jack Links was a good course. Nothing too long. So I got not jaded, but like educated. So I used to so I've shot with like Evan but like John Dudley. So John Dudley from Knock One, right? Yeah. So John's great. And when I say, I've shot with him. I'm not at their level.
Yeah.
But like when you shoot with John, like John's great, right? And he's the type that like there's a cone, right? So if people don't know, there's a cone and then their target. The cone is where you're supposed to shoot from. We'll back up 20 or 30 yards, right? End up shooting more. And so I find myself now, and I did that for 3 or 4 years, and I've shot. The only TACs I haven't shot are South Dakota, Michigan, and Vermont. Yeah, those are the only 3. But I've been like the Big Sky 2 or 3 times, and the Utah and Colorado and like Oklahoma. And so Jack Links was nice. The course was nice today. Hilly. I passed. It was 2 couples, and they were getting winded. We'll just say that. And I was politely, because I was just shooting by myself today, since my wife had her interview that she had to do for her guard gig. And so I was like, can I pass you? And they're like, oh yeah, like we're taking a breather. So they were nice, and they even at one point offered to let me shoot with them, but I had my phone and I was trying to do with the fundraiser, so I'm trying to do a fundraiser, and so I was like, being the social media nerd and trying to go live and take pictures. I'm like, you guys don't want me with you. But I think the course was good. I think the longest shot, there's a Bigfoot, with the Bigfoot target they have. I think it's at a 78. It's where I stood. I think it was like a 78 or 76 yard one. My farthest, you say that, my farthest is 106. So I'm
wow.
If it's a good buck size, or even like the buffalo, like there's one of them. I think it's the Pennsylvania. I'm not sure. There's like a buffalo, and it's like over 100. But we've stood back, and I hit 106. So I feel comfortable. So like that Bigfoot, I was like
Yeah.
But there were a few where I would be back like about 10 yards or so, and give myself a little extra challenge. And I knelt down, like, so kneeling, right? So not everything's always standing, and so sometimes if you back up too, the shot becomes a little bit harder than if you kneel, right? And so I actually knelt in 2 shots. Started with 8 arrows, ended with 5. 3. So actually I saw John when I finished. He's like, how'd you do? I was like, 3 out of 8. He's like, what is that? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, started with 8 arrows, dude. Only lost 3, but I don't know how math works.
Yeah.
Like what percentage that is, because there's 25 targets. So what is
That's
that?
pretty good.
It's probably, I like this, maybe it's 80, 75, 80%. Yeah. I don't like 75. Someone was telling me the math. Like, I think it's only 75%. And I was like, I don't like that number. If it's 80%, that'd be better.
Yeah. We brought dozens of arrows.
Dude, yeah, right? Yeah. I brought a dozen, I tell you, I have, for mine, I have PTSD, but I probably have ADHD and OCD. So an even number, so I had to take 8. So like tomorrow, like I'll make sure I have like 8 again. It's one of those things.
Just to make sure.
I can up my odds by knocking 3 arrows at a time.
But that's the thing that's fun. But that's the thing you can shoot, like, even so my wife, like, she shot last year. She's been shooting for a year or two now, but not as much. And but you can move up, and not that she would need to, but like, if it's a 60 or 70 yard shot, she might not feel comfortable taking that. And as long as like there's not like a long line of people, like you move up, and you take the shot. Plus, there's people who shoot with recurves, right? Traditional bows.
Yeah,
they're not taking a 78 yard shot, like,
no.
so they have to move up and stuff. So that's what I want. So when I talk about tact, I mean that's one of the things. It's Sean, if he listens, would definitely be like, no, please shoot from the cone.
You're right.
As in, don't go farther back. But if you have to move up, for sure. Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, it's nice.
Is this a very, in your opinion, since you've done so many of these, this is our first one.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Is this a veteran-heavy event? Do you see a lot of veterans out there?
It used to be. I say that used to be. Again, when Black Rifle was a sponsor and we pushed it, we did. You would really like you see people in the Black Rifle T-shirts, but like I'll wear probably my multicam pants tomorrow. Right, I'm a huge multicam fan, and so I still think so. You just like it's hard to tell. I think when you saw people wearing Black Rifle stuff, maybe you were like, oh, that's a veteran. Yeah. Today I didn't see too many people wearing any of that, so it's hard to tell. But I like to think so. But it's the same thing with like LinkedIn. Yeah. I'm like, man, this is a veteran platform. And we're really not. We're really still the minority. Yeah. So we're probably a minority here too. But, these are hunters. I mean, do you guys hunt?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I hunted once. I would hunt more. I just never find the time. And I've always had a ton of people. And if anyone listens, they'll probably call, hey, I just never do. A friend, Baker, he started a nonprofit and flew me out to Georgia. And, I got a doe from a stand and everything. It was pretty cool. Yeah. But I like to hunt. I just don't really. And I always used to, like the guys, always went on their hunts. I just never did. So I got into the 3 archery side of it. Anyway, to say that though, this is a lot of hunters. So like you guys, the hunters will come and right. I mean, they're testing out their gear.
Yeah.
I remember one of the first ones I did. Isaac used to be with Black Rifle. He was the archery guru. Like I looked over at him because people were wearing all like their Sitka gear, like they're camouflaged out, right, in their hunting gear, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, Dan, man, they pay, it's a $400 outfit. You got to test it out, like you got to show it off and make sure, yeah. And so, I feel like that's what it is, But again, some of these shots though, as a hunter, you're not taking probably a 78 yard, 80 yard shot,
probably
right?
not
40, 20, right, somewhere in there. But that's what makes it fun. So that's what the whole. To me, I call it's archery golf, right?
It really is. 25 targets.
You get a knock time, like a tee time.
Yeah, it's very similar.
It's right.
Very similar.
But it's a little bit more on the adventurous, right? Because the courses, you guys know, so the course is marked right with like engineer tape, so you know where to go.
Okay.
But you're still got to look for that engineer tape and follow it at each one, and you're zigzagging through all over. Cool. Pretty cool, yeah.
How important is it to do stuff like this for veterans, and what is the therapeutic value in it, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think first is just nature, right? I mean, I'm not a science guy by any means, a smart guy, but the power of just nature, right? Being like even like today, but I was by myself and I was on Instagram Live, and you hear the birds, right? And you're walking and you're like, well, is that lonely? And you're like, no, it's not lonely. Even though you're by yourself, it's like you're surrounded. And I know like it can sound so, I don't even know, but like you're in the woods. And so that, to me, all my troubles are away. Yeah. And it almost becomes like, can I stay here right now?
Yeah.
Right? Like, can I stay?
Yeah.
Can I stay
We pulled
here?
up to this cabin. I was like, I'm going to buy it.
Right? The one worry with the whole family, the same thing. Like, my mother-in-law and father-in-law are down, and it's got a hot tub and everything. But it's a cabin. But it's But yeah, so you're in there and you're in nature. So that's like the first thing. And then when it gets into the archery side of it, you have to focus, right? I mean, if in the military we shot a lot. Well, I mean, I shot a lot, and then even as a cop, I shot a lot. It's the same play. Like, you have to go through steps, right? You're going to range your target. Great. Okay. Range my target. Now I got my feet stance, right? Making sure my arrow's knocked, right? Because people will dry fire. So let's make sure there's an arrow in there.
Yeah.
Arrow's knocked in there, right? I clip in. I use a trigger. release.
Yeah.
Right. All the guys, if you're good, like you guys are using the 10. For me, just shooting so much, like I love the trigger. So
yeah, I do too.
Yeah.
I tried to do a hand release.
Yeah, I do trigger. But, you clip in, but, it's elbow up, tip of the nose, anchor in, you're looking through your peep, and you have to walk through all those steps. And, I even forgot, like, let's not forget. So you get to dial.
Yeah.
Right? And so now you got to make sure you put in the right yardage.
Yeah.
Evan and the guys used to always play a game. That's why we always range drone targets, because you would walk up and be like, hey, what is it? And they'd be like, yeah, it's 86, 55.
Get you to shake one.
Everybody range your own targets.
I'm going to remember that tomorrow.
Yeah, range your own target.
Don't trust me, Steve.
But you have to do your knob. You have to turn.
Yeah, you got to remember.
Make sure
you guys got knobs.
Yeah.
Are you shooting fixed?
Yeah.
Are you?
Oh yeah.
So how do you adjust?
But I have 5 pins.
That's too confusing. So I do a 3-pin spot hog. I got my wife a single pin HHA, but I think the single pin I like. I think dialed archery is making.
That's what I have.
Do you like it?
I do.
Man, that's looking pretty cool because you can.
It's pretty cool.
I'm a accessory guy, so I like a nice green one. I like the lime green kind of scenario. Yeah, so.
I could see you could pick it up faster too. Then I've got to go. Wait a minute, yellow, green, red.
Yeah, it is.
Versus
pin.
Yeah,
but splitting
turn the knob. Yeah, it goes right to the.
But I'll tell you some. So again, the Jack Links course, there were some. One was a little rabbit, and there were 2 trees. So now your window is tight, and that's a tiny target. But it was at like 36 or 35 yards. So mine is a 20, 30, 40. So at like 36, I have to split my 30 and 40, and you're like. I gotta I hate splitting. And you're like, okay, well, I'm already off. Actually, on mine, like I'm usually I add a yard like from 40, and then I gotta do some math just because the tapes are off. But yeah. Anyway, so to go back to the therapy, so you have to walk through all that, and that's just saying this is in your mind. Right? I'm not worried about taxes. I'm not angry if there's people. Maybe back there, making noise, or I know they're waiting on me. Maybe they're annoyed. And I'm not annoyed that there's, tons of people in front of me. You're in that moment, and now you're looking, down, at your peep, and you're looking through, and you're putting the pin there, and you're trying to breathe, and then there's a bubble, right? So I got a bubble. Now you got
level it
now.
out.
Now you're right. And so now you're getting your bubble in there, and now and just like a gun, squeeze. I found myself once today. I didn't hit the trigger, but I felt myself.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like. That's a flashback of a memory, like pulling the trigger and you're like, and so you are in that moment, and then the arrow flies, and so foam is home, is a saying. So if you guys, this is with your first tack, foam is home. Just hit the foam.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
I hit the Bigfoot in the hand.
Hey.
I don't care. It was foam, right? I hit it. And so, and it's that instant reward, because if you don't hear that foam thunk, you're going to hear the tree crash or the rock crash. Now, then that does get frustrating, because you're like, there's like what, $8 or $10 that I just blew up.
Oh yeah, I shot a tree in my backyard the other day.
Yeah,
I was like, I won $10.
Yeah, and you're like, okay. But again, I think, but now you're back outdoors. You're like, okay, I'm out here. Yeah. Right. Let's chill out. And so. You take that all with the archery and the total archery challenge. And so I think for a veteran, for me, it's like cold plunging. Like I love cold plunging. You're like, that's 3 minutes of, and people will be like, is it really 3 minutes of joy? Yeah. Like I stay in 3 minutes a day. I mean, there's sometimes I'm like, can I stay here all day? Just because like all your troubles just go away. Like I'm just like in the cold plunge, I'm just focusing on staying warm and not dying, right? The hypothermia in the tub. But same thing with the archery. It's just like, man, I'm out here, like I'm slinging arrows. Let me just keep doing that, and it's great, But you have to continue that though. And so like I'll go. So I live by Camp Bullis in San Antonio. Yep. And Camp Bullis has an outdoor range. Yeah, Camp Bullis has an outdoor range, and I don't get up as much as I should, but. My bow sits like in my office, and it's nice even to look at. I see my arrows and stuff, so I know if I wanted to, I could. But for me, but that's the thing. I went to Cody, donut operator.
Yep.
Yeah. Right, so I got invited to their range day. They do an influencer range day, demolition mat at his ranch, and Cody invited me, and I know him from Black Rifle days, and he actually invited me, and so I went. But I sat there with. earphones on, ear protection for like 2.5 hours. And then by the time I got done, I was like, that's why I don't like, not that I don't like shooting anymore, but like I really don't shoot anymore other than in my archery, right? Because you don't need eye protection. You don't need hearing protection, right? You don't need any of that. Yeah. And even, to practice, you only need a good, even 20 yards if you wanted to, right? If you like in your backyard, or something like that. Yeah. And you could, just, I don't know if I'd do it in my backyard. Sean and I, so again, for tack, and you just always got to be careful, right? You never know. Your D-loop, whatever, it snaps, and now I'm like, oh God, I'm going to kill the neighbor's dog.
Yeah. I got a good backyard that, the corner of my backyard faces a patch of woods.
There you go.
So I can put the targets there. I can shoot over my pool.
Yeah.
In the targets, and worst case, I'm hitting a tree or the fence that isn't mine.
Right.
But I have, as long as I don't hit the pool.
Yeah. Let's think with archery too. Like you'll see the angles. Like, so again, Sean and his whole team, they're great on when they put the targets up. Like you're shooting your arrow, and there's nothing ever on like the other side. But unlike again, rifle, pistol, like normal like shooting, once you're clear off a little bit, and you're walking down the trail, you can yell clear, or people will see you. You can shoot. Like it's. Like you don't like you would never do that in the world of like rifle shooting. Be like, right? No,
the range.
So that's the thing with archery. Like it's
So what is the Warrior Bonfire Program about? Let's talk about that just a little bit and define it, and then talk about some of the programs that it's doing.
Yeah. But first, you're wearing the shirt too, so thank you.
Yeah. I got the shirt on from the first fundraiser they did.
So I'm t-shirts, right? So it's a brand thing, and we didn't have we had some old stuff, but that was So, so again, we support Purple Heart recipients post 9/11. We have one exception, I think, take some older, maybe Vietnam era ones, but we try to focus on the post 9/11 Purple Heart recipients. But then we also do spouses too. So we'll do, like we just did one, and I think we're doing another one coming up. So we have spouses. So they'll do a Purple Heart, spouse trip, right?
That's
because
cool.
It is, because even as a mill spouse myself, right? Like I left my job that I had in Oklahoma City to come down for Bethany, my wife, right, to take that San Antonio gig, right?
Yeah.
And even now, like I said, trying to find these tribes. I have a couple friends, companies that are in Montana who might have hired me, but we can't move to Montana.
Yeah.
Why? Because I'm a mill spouse and her career is here in San
Antonio. You've got to see both sides of the coin.
Yeah. Yeah. So the spouse thing is huge too. So we do about 24 to 32 retreats. We call them retreats, adventures, trips, but retreats a year. And it's a wide range, but it's all outdoor stuff. And so a wide range, because there's a lot of stuff that's just hunting and things like that. And again, not being disparaging or bad mouthing anybody. It's just that's just one little thing. And you're okay. And a lot of people are doing that, and I can see, but
yeah.
So that's why we split it up. We do have some hunting ones, right? But we also do have some fishing ones. But even fishing ones aren't always just even fly fishing. It might be, bass fishing, off a boat. To skiing, snowmobiling up in Colorado, to just hiking and hanging out in Colorado, doing outdoor activities, to we'll be out in Fleet Week, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, New York, right? So we're doing that. But even that's going to give us a chance. And then Kathy, one of our board members, took a group, and they went down to Norfolk, but they went to Williamsburg, and they went to the USS Wisconsin. And so again, it's a weekend. It's usually Thursday, Friday, and then you're leaving late Sunday or Monday. But then the program, and that's where Bonfire comes in, because when I describe that, sometimes I don't think I do it justice, but it winds up, like I said, maybe just being how the other, well, you're just doing that. And not really, though, because when we're there with them, we do small groups. It's 4 to 6, right? Purple Heart guys and gals.
Yeah.
So it's a small group. But when they get there, it's hey, tell me your story, right? Let's get to know each other, right? If you want to. Because, again, we're not there to force you, right? When you signed up for the trip, okay, I'm going on this scuba diving trip. I know I'm going on the fishing trip, so you know what to expect. But when you get there, it's hey, now I'm meeting other people. Hey, tell me about yourself, and tell me, and then the next night it comes into a little bit. Is there anything you need, right? What are the resources? And we talk about that, because we don't have the transition resume help or the true mental health, doctors or therapists, but we know. We have the resources, right? Yeah. So if you tell me, hey, I'm having trouble getting a job, great. right? Let's go down our list and let's get you in touch then with somebody and help you with that. So we're doing that over that whole course, right? But really it's the culmination, I think, and it's kind of coming when you sign up, is we end up retiring. So we end up burning old American flags, right? So that's when you say it, like you're burning a flag. I know people might think like,
I think that's how you're supposed to do it.
It is, but you just say burning a flag, you're like, oh my God, why are you burning a flag? So they're old flags that aren't serviceable anymore, and we have hundreds of them. And so what we do is we have a bonfire ceremony, and you have the red, white, and blue strips. And we always have a retreat leader. So the retreat leader is usually like a senior, someone, an alumni, a Purple Heart who's said, hey, like I'll come, and they end up leading stuff. But they have a sheet, and like like you say the Pledge of Allegiance, and there's a whole like script, and you run through it because it's very right. You're getting it's a ceremony. It is ceremony. Thank you. Exactly. And so you're doing that, but then when you have your strip and you're talking, you lay your strip in, you can say a friend's name or someone's name, or you can say whatever you want, or you can not say anything at all, right? If you're just, hey, I don't feel comfortable, and like I got to participate in one. Just again, I went as an observer, but then again as a full-time staff member for Warrior Bonfire, and so I had a friend Brad, a bracelet clanking that got killed in 2010, and like that was the first, I say his name, and it's just you always. Right, you try to be tough and you try not to think about it, but like as soon as you're there, and I'm not laughing, but it is like to look, and I laugh actually because side note, that's the ADHD of me. I was on Instagram Live today during the halfway point, and Jay and Kayla are friends of mine. Jay's a Purple Heart, so he's a amputee, like high up to his thing, and they joined into the Instagram Live and they were typing, and I started getting emotional. Yeah, right. And so it's one of those things, being in the moment. So that's the same thing with the bonfire, right? And so that you're in that moment, but it's the help, right? Because some guys didn't get to say goodbye to friends, either in a group setting, and you could be like, well, how did they not get to say goodbye? I mean, maybe their friend died, and they just have never been presented with an opportunity to get together as a like-minded group, right? And be able to do that. And then finally, we end up taking those ashes, and we have an urn that has all the ashes from every bonfire in it.
Oh, wow.
So you're never really forgotten then. Like now it's that culmination, and we have those,
That's really cool.
Yeah, it really is. I've been with them, say, 2 months, but, when I say there's 50,000, I think now, some veteran nonprofits.
Yeah, it's
right?
Crazy.
But we've been around since 2013.
Oh.
Yeah, and... But again, you find that, right? You find now that people still haven't heard of resources and things that are out there.
Like you said, 50-something thousand.
Yeah,
it's drink from a firehouse.
Yeah,
how do you know where to go?
Yeah, but that's right. How do you know, right? And so, and it's such a shame because like the resources are there to help.
Yeah,
and then if you don't, if you can't find the help, you're like, and not that you're blaming that person, but like. It's like it's too much. Yeah, like I don't even know where to look. It's just
That's
too
what
much.
I did during COVID a lot because I worked at Space Command in Colorado Springs.
Yeah,
and they sent us home.
Yeah,
just go home.
Yeah.
So I was on my laptop, work government laptop, and my regular laptop, and I'm playing on LinkedIn. But then I can't remember the name of the program. I think it's called Veterati.
Yep, I mean that is one of them.
And I would just donate my time on Veterati and talk to other veterans who needed help. And well, what do you need?
Yeah.
Well, I need a job, or I don't know where to go or where to start. I'm like, oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah.
And I know people.
Yep.
I know, you and other people. I say, hey, you need to talk to Dan.
Yeah.
You need to talk to those so-and-so.
Yeah.
This person can help you with resumes. And I could just do something as simple as sending a LinkedIn message to both of them. Quick introduction.
Yep.
Take it from here, guys. And, some of it was giving other people business because they made a living writing resumes. But, it was the simple fact of you're sharing those resources because, again, like you could Google veteran resources right now and it's going to come up with pages and pages. It's just going to be overwhelming. And during transition, overwhelming is I don't want to say a dangerous thing, but it can be it can turn people off.
Yeah. Well, and then there's reputations too. I mean, out of those 50,000, I think I just said like they're not all great. I mean, there's right?
controversies,
right? And so, and that's where it goes. But that's where like it hurts everybody type of mentality, which for sure, because then you're like, right, how do I know where my money's going if I'm donating? But same thing to the veteran, like, you know, and that's, you know, something for us too. And I learned that for Black Rifle. So Black Rifle, we did the veteran adaptive athlete shoot, right? Evan had this idea and we ended up executing it, and we did it 3 years, and we took, you know, amputees mostly and stuff like that, and guys and gals who hadn't shot, and said, hey, let's put a bow in your hand, let's get you dialed in, and you can shoot archery. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like we never wanted to exploit them for anything. But there's a little bit of a but. Storytelling is how you garner awareness, like you garner donations, which then help to grow it bigger. But it was like, you know, if someone doesn't want their story told, fine. But someone probably does, and that's what we want, because you want to tell your story, right? And but you're not exploiting it. Like, I don't want to tell your stories so I only get donations. I want to tell. It seems like when I'm doing for the fundraiser for TAC, if I don't raise $1, okay, great, I'll be a little bit disappointed.
Yeah.
But if when I look at my phone and I can see like impressions and likes, I know that with the awareness. And that's what I want to drive to. Right? You want to drive
the conversation.
Yeah, the awareness and the conversation for it and stuff like this. And so yeah.
Any idea what kind of bow you're going to do through the fundraiser, or are you going to let the veteran pick?
Yeah, so I shoot a PSE. Because John shoots a PSE, and that's a Black Rifle we were on. So my bow was given to me by Evan, and so like my bow's engraved like on the cams with the Black Rifle arrowhead logo and stuff like that. Yeah, it's a pretty cool bow, and so I'm pretty loyal. Like Steve, you're wearing the Hoyt hat. I'm pretty loyal to PSE, but I know. Right, Hoyt's great. I mean, it's like
I used to shoot a Hoyt.
BMW, Mercedes, they're all like the good brand, good cars. If I'll go to PSE, I would like for them to shoot, you know, a PSE, but it'll definitely be a compound bow. Like, even if you were going to that level, I want a compound bow. But I mean, I'd like a PSE just because that's my little baby. But you know, times are tough for all companies. Right. Yeah. I mean, so if PSE couldn't, you know, but you have so many. You have Hoyt, Bear, Prime, Elite,
there's tons of
right. And so it fits into if they can, because they do give to other things, right. And so it could even be an archery shop, right. So I maybe it could be. So in the first year we did, just so we're talking, PSE actually did donate bows, and then like the next year we end up like saying, okay, we're a bit bigger company, we'll buy them. But you know, maybe it's an archery shop, and an archery shop has just, you know, some older bows that they are going to sell, but maybe could then donate and write off. So maybe it's a hodgepodge of Hoyt, Bears, and whatever. It's just about, and that's my thing, putting that bow in that veteran's hand, right? And so again, same thing with sights. Like my wife's shooting an HHA and I shoot a spot hog. I mean, whatever. And then, but I want to go to dialed. I mean, it's not. I don't have a contract signed. For exclusivity for anybody. I mean, I would love it because it does lend into more storytelling. Like if you support us. I mean, but again, it also then is the other side of I just want to put a bow in their hand.
Yeah.
Get them outside and start slinging arrows at some 3D targets. And then if the 3D targets, you know, go into hunting, you know, phenomenal. Like that's like huge. Yeah.
Because there's tons of veteran hunting programs out there for sure.
For sure, yeah. So
you guys are doing some, right?
We do, but none are archery. I would tell you that.
Oh,
none of the hunts, that I know for this year are archery hunts.
Really?
Yeah. So next year, right? So Mike Foss is the president of Warrior Bonfire. If he's listening, he next year I want to do like what we did at Black Rifle, and I want to get like 4 to 6 Purple Heart. Right, guys, gals, whatever, who have never shot art. I want, you know, okay, I shot in high school, great. That was probably years ago, right?
Yeah.
But like, or really, you know, and put a bow in their hand and teach them, and then have them to shoot a tack. One of the guys, Jeremy, right? We've got Jeremy. Hopefully, I think Jeremy lives in Oregon. Jeremy came to the last year we did it in 22, and he had some shoulder surgery. He has really bad shoulder issues from military type stuff, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to pull back the bow.
Yeah.
But Isaac and the team taught him to shoot with his teeth in 2 days.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And with the mouth tab. Yeah. Jonathan Lopez is a friend of mine. Jonathan's missing. Jonathan, if he's, I think it's pretty sure think it's his left arm. He doesn't have a prosthetic or anything. And Jonathan shoots with his teeth.
Yeah.
And like he has like a 70-pound draw or 80-pound draw. Like
wow, geez.
It's not like he's just. Oh no, he has a normal bow and does it with the mouth tab, and it's
Wow.
And you can teach someone to do that like in 2 or 3 days. 100%. Yeah.
Let's talk archery a little bit. You shoot a PSE, and you said you just got into it a couple years ago.
4, yeah, really. I was literally driving. So Evan got about 20 of those really good ones, the special ones, and he was giving them employees. And so I had to drive them up from San Antonio to Salt Lake.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And that was the first time I shot. So that was 2020. So I've been shooting since 2020. Yeah.
And you've always shot a PSE.
Yeah, so it's a PC. It's a stealth. It's a carbon fiber one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's carbon fiber, nice light. I mean, but now it's getting old. But everyone tells me that as long as I replace the strings and everything and stuff, it's doing fine. Yeah, but I love it. Yeah.
I shot a Hoyt for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I bought an Elite used because I wanted to try something different. Sure. And I just felt like spending money. You know how that goes. This would be a good idea today. It's not tomorrow. And I think it was an Elite Answer. It was it was so smooth. And I heard a lot about their cams and the way their let off is. I was like, I just got to try it out. And I had shoulder surgery. I screwed mine up on active duty. Yeah. So I quit hunting and shooting a bow, and I switched over to a crossbow. Just to continue to hunt. Right. And I said I always want to get back into it again. Therapeutic, the time outdoors. With a crossbow, once you sight it in, it's sighted in like a rifle is sighted in.
Sure.
But with a compound bow, you got to earn it every single time.
Right.
So it's getting back to that. So I shot the Elite for a long time, and then I got rid of it. And then I was like, okay, I want to go back to it. And I got the Elite Carbon Era this year. Okay. And I love it. It's fantastic. You shoot a Hoyt.
Yeah.
You've been shooting a Hoyt for a while, right?
Yeah. I started bow hunting in 68 with a Browning that was a recurve that was only about this long. It was made for brush and stuff. I still don't remember how I pulled it back. But, partridge and deer and stuff in Northern California. So.
And you can get things. There's a price range. It's like shooting. I mean, you can go to a Bass Pro and pick a one that is all set up. Yeah, it's still basic for like probably $350, I think, which is not a lot really when compared to I think my that carbon fiber bow is like $2,000 or something, right? And now and you have all the other accessories. I get it, but there are lower price points that you can come into it, and again, because it's like a starter, right? It's like your first car. My first car, wasn't my best car that I've had in my life. It was my starter car, right? I mean, so it's the same thing. I think with the bow, and again, it goes back to getting out there. Yeah. But again, it's all the different brands, and everybody has the different levels, of getting into the game with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and doing your research, finding out what works.
Sure.
Go to a local pro shop and shoot.
My wallet is afraid of the vendor market tomorrow.
There's a lot down there. Yeah, no, I walked around today. There's a lot. I mean, it's still that's one of the fun things too, is to walk around because everything's down there. Yeah.
What is the future of the Warrior Bonfire Program? What's going to be new? What's 2025 going to look like?
Yeah, so I think coming on, them bringing me on board is just a little bit driving that awareness, and so hopefully with the awareness, right, we garner more donations. But you're like, I was actually doing some fundraising classes, and it's just like, well, okay, well, what are you going to do with if you do more money? Having more trips is good, but I'm an impact and quality, and so is Mike and Helen. Helen's our VP. Mike and Helen, I think same thing. It's the quality over the quantity. So we won't necessarily be like, well, we're going to crank it up to 40 or 50 retreats, because now you're just like, okay, there's 12 months in the year, and you start you look at that's a lot of weekends, and that's a lot. So I think staying around the 24, 32, but doing some different ones. So again, I think I'm going to try to throw that archery one into there. So there's 2025, right? Throwing that archery one into there. But a lot of the connections I make too. Orange Bison, you guys go down there tomorrow. They're at the top. They're a local Oklahoma nonprofit, and they have stuff down there. And Sean, a different Sean with Orange Bison, was talking to me today, and he's like, if we have like there's a hunt, like I know this guy, we have some property, blah, blah. I always hate saying blah, blah, blah. We're, you know, and you're going through and we're talking those relationships. So maybe making different trips, you know, for 2025 and beyond that are, I wouldn't, again, the old trips, you know, I wouldn't say more impactful, but yeah, maybe more impactful, a little bit more quality with it, staying the same small groups.
Yeah.
But I would say, so I'm doing Wounded Warrior Project. So I'm actually doing a call in May, on May 16th. And a friend of mine, she is in charge of it. And so it'll be like a 30-minute call for me to talk about the Warrior Bonfire Program. But these are two like Wounded Warrior Project alumni.
Okay.
But she actually was able to whittle it down. But these are Purple Hearts. We had 50 new registrations on Friday.
Wow.
The call isn't until May 16th. Wow. But she sent the text and stuff out. But like 50 new Purple Hearts registered with us on Friday.
Just from getting the word out. Yes. That's great.
It is great. That's great. But you have to serve. That's why I say service them. You have to support them. And so, but, you know, and that's where, you know, I think anyone not volunteers, but goes on a trip for a nonprofit has to realize there's only a certain amount of slots. So Warrior Bonfire, for example, you click over here in the top left corner and you come down to retreats and you find retreats. You know, you have to find one that fits your time frame. Like, am I available in May or June to go on something? Yes, great. It might already be full because again, we're only doing like 6.
Yeah.
So, but so maybe even as we go into the future, again, if we can garner more money, maybe we take 8. I think 8's still small, but again, you don't want to lose that small group therapy session.
That intimacy.
Right? You really don't. Maybe some more spouse trips even too. Like that could be, I wouldn't mind that if you can do that. So I think that's, you know, where the future is, really more awareness, drive it, but it's just the impact, really. I just want to drive more impact because, again, like just I said, for Friday was today, so it was, I'm losing track of my days. Today's Friday, so it was Wednesday morning. So anyway, like 50 new people.
Yeah. And
so these are 50 Purple Heart recipients who have never been on any of our retreats and haven't registered with us, and now are in, and now they can go and start picking, trips to go through. So we'll need to really focus on that and that's the other part. We have some alumni only trips because that's an important part too, because you don't want to be a one and done.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to bring them back.
Right. Again, I'm not talking bad about any other nonprofits, but one and done, we don't want to do one and done.
Yeah.
Right. And so you want to have some trips where it's like, because, hey, I went on one last year. Well, you want that bond. You don't want them to lose it, right? And so we will have some alumni trips too. So yeah, that's focused even more on the alumni. We talked about even like a reunion, maybe do a bigger reunion.
That's cool.
Like we have a gala and stuff, but that's not, that really wouldn't be like the reunion, but like a reunion trip would be
a little more.
Yeah, probably
fun, laid
cool.
back.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do stuff like that.
So before I let you go, tell everybody where they can find more about the Warrior Bonfire social media website, and as well as you, if you want to share your pages so they can follow you, see what you're doing directly.
Yeah. So the Warrior Bonfire, warriorbonfireprogram.org, right, for the World Wide Webs. And then Instagram at Warrior Bonfire, and LinkedIn is Warrior Bonfire Program, and then same thing with Facebook, Warrior Bonfire Program. So for me, Instagram is Dan_Horgan_. But all my pictures are me, so it's my old man face with my beard. Same thing with LinkedIn, Dan Horgan. I would tell you I won't say my Facebook, and it's not that it's a private or anything. Facebook, I don't use Facebook a lot, but I do have an account on Facebook.
Well, Dan, thank you so much for doing this. It's a pleasure. Steve, thanks for co-hosting with me, and we appreciate it, man. Shoot straight tomorrow, and we'll see you out there because we're going to go out to the vendor area.
Yeah, walk around. You guys do have a good time on Sunday.